Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Nischitha. This is a continuation video of the previous video. I had spoken about suffering, the causes of suffering, and why suffering is a good thing to happen. So, I had discussed briefly about the two, that is, not knowing who we are, and about attachment to experiences, attachment to people, etc. And today I'll be discussing three more, that is, not knowing the true nature of reality, and no isolated self or repulsion, and the last one is fear of death. To figure out the true nature of reality, we are limited with our sensory experience or our ability to reason or imagine. Even if I witness the reality, I will ultimately have to use my sensory modalities or my mental faculties or my language to explain, which is limited, which is also corrupted. That means there's no reality, or we can never experience the reality. Let me explain. What we see is just a narrow band of electromagnetic spectrum. Photons of just 400 to 700 nanometer strike our retina in the eye, and the wavelengths above or below this are undetected and it's unexperienced by us. Photons detected by our receptors in the retina, they generate or they create an impulse from there, and those signals pass through multiple stages. From the retina, the impulse is generated and it goes to the larger complex structures, for example, lateral geniculate body or hypothalamus, etc., and then finally reach the occipital lobes in the brain. At each stages, the mapping through the neurological processes changes. That means what we see is not what is really out there, but a version of it is corrupted. In order to explain it more in a simple language, say for example, there are 10 people in the room, and I think there is this game passing the message. So you start with one message to go for a sentence, and by the time it reaches after 10 people back to you, it is the whole sentence is changed. That means through these processes, through these stages, it's corrupted. That means what you just said is not really what you said. Also, there is one more corruption. What we see, we imagine or we describe it, the image. For example, I saw a tree. So that is through learning. I have learned, and also with the multiple description of the experience of the world with comparison, which I learn. So there is a corruption. I might imagine or I might say this particular tree or see this particular tree differently, and the other person may experience it differently. Tree is a tree, but the experience is different and the way they describe is different. That comes from learning, and also through comparison. Similar sequences can be described with other sensory channels. For example, what we hear is in a limited bandwidth, what we feel is also limited, and what we smell is also limited. For example, a dog can smell what we can't. So, what we experience as reality is not exactly the reality, it's just a shadow of reality which is corrupted. So, that means we can't experience reality. Is it just an illusion, as Albert Einstein said? Well, he said, we do not observe nature as it actually exists, but nature exposed to our methods of perception. The theories determine what we can or cannot observe. Reality is an illusion. Is it? Well, there's a different view that we can experience the true nature of reality, or in simple, we can experience the reality that is through enlightenment, which is a big word. We are unaware until we experience it. Even if we do, we cannot comprehend, we cannot articulate, we cannot put into words through our limited language. So, this is one main suffering cause, which and all the other causes come under this, that not knowing the true nature of reality. If we know this, we are done. In the sense, we will be aware that the suffering that is coming from is this. So, what is this true nature of reality? So, true nature of reality is that everything is one and the same thing. Time and space makes it appear as many and back to one. For example, drawing a circle. But circle in true nature is a dot. It's one. Let me explain with an example again, that when you see the traffic light, especially red light, so when you look from far, it appears as one. But when you go closer, there are so many other red small circles which is forming that one. So life is about zooming in, whereas zooming out is through meditation. So when you zoom out, look from afar with awareness, that is the true nature of reality. It's just one and the same thing. That everything is one and the same thing. Just the time and space is making it appear as many and back to one. Still, after knowing all this, I still don't understand. One can only attain the understanding of this true nature with the diligent practice of meditation. And meditation basically lets you observe the momentary experience, and eventually developing the capability to experience the true nature. Meditation permits our consciousness to help us realize that reality is a kind of all encompassing oneness which is otherwise hidden from us. For example, watching your reflection on the TV screen while we are watching a movie. It was always there, but it was never noticed, right? So that is something meditation will make you more aware. So, as I said, engaging life is zooming in to see the repeating patterns. We are in a repeated patterns, and zooming out to see the oneness. It's through awareness, it's through meditation. And it requires a diligent practice of meditation, which you and I require to know the true nature of reality. So that was all about true nature of reality. Well, the next one is repulsion or aversion. It's something that you avoid, that you don't want. Anything that causes the threat to your ego. So you avoid such things. For example, death, or it might be anything. Death is just an example. So in homes, we are not allowed to utter this word death because they say it is a bad thing to do. Because we avoid death. We avoid even articulating death because we fear death. And the fear of death is the different one, but it's just an example that we avoid what we don't want. So we suffer by the things that you avoid, like what you will do if you can't avoid the thing that you fear most, and you imagine what ifs and the worst case scenario. So that is about the repulsion or aversion. So that's how it is, more to it, but I just want to stick on because true nature of reality was such a big thing. I just want to um, end this repulsion with, or this comes from the no isolated self. So we often, because we don't want to get bored, we often go from one things to another, doing one thing to another. For example, when we eat, we need TV, we need an entertainment, we need a music, we need something to watch, something like that. We always need something to keep us entertained, to not get us make us bored. We never have this isolated self. We always engage in some or the other thing. So there's no isolated self to process the thoughts. We don't know what we fear. In fact, we don't know what are our fears. We don't know how this thought is processed. We don't know so many things because we are always doing some or the other thing. So isolated self is something which is very essential, to know oneself, to know what are the fears, what are the beliefs, and so many other things. So it is important. So this is one of the other cause for suffering. Then the next one is fear of death. So we had this klesha or this cause, that is attachment, in the previous video. So this fear of death is, that the root of it to suffer is the attachment to life itself. We are so attached to the life. Death is the greatest unknown, and it looms closer to each one of us every single day. The only way to come out of this fear of death a little bit, I still fear death, so a little bit, is to be aware of death, and a deep acceptance of death that has to come, that we need to accept death, that it will happen to each one of us every day. As I said, it looms closer to us, each of us every day. So I had this is my biggest fear, and so how, in order to, I know that I'm aware that this is my fear, and in order to get out of it a little bit, it will not go completely, but a little bit of it. I You know that I work as a physiotherapist, and we see the dead bodies in the first year, right? Anatomy. So from there it starts. You see the pain in the world with a dead body, and it started from there. So that I'm going to be this one day, and what is this all for? Like, whatever we do, back then I was quite young, so I used to not think more, but I used to think about it, not this deep as I think now. And it started from there. So the fear was there, and later on, studying. Even during my PG, I used to go to mortuary almost 3 days a week to, I don't know, it was a curiosity. Just go stare at the dead body. Just go stare at the dead body. And something that happens, I can't, again, language is a barrier, it has limitation. You cannot articulate what you experience, but something that changes for sure when you see, just go see the dead bodies. And not just dead bodies, the suffering people too. There is something that changes. You see the pain in the world, and this, it's different. Um, so it's essential for each one of us to visit hospital at least often, to just be aware of the pain in the world. You see the world with different eyes, with different perception, with a different view than most of us do. With all those experiences, I also think that death or illness uh, provides us with a tremendous opportunity to look beyond of what we understand as life. We have also heard about the Gautama Buddha. He saw a sick man, one old man, and one dead body. Then he realized that this can happen to me any day, and there's no point in running away from it. So that's the deep acceptance of death. We all need to do it. I just said we all need to do it because either if it's our own or if it is of some other people that we have experienced death in the family or anybody, so we somewhere still grieve about it, and we suffer with the grief, right? So you just have to accept it. Acceptance is a right thing to do in order to be, you know, make peace with this thing called life and live joyfully. With that, we come to an end where we summarize that suffering is a good thing to happen. We should, in fact, be grateful for the challenges that life throws at us, because we would not experience life to this greater intensity if we were not given the opportunities or the challenges. So, suffering is a good thing. And as always, I would end this video with one quote: "This is life, this is the basis of life, and with that, you don't argue, you don't question its wisdom, you must bow down because it is way beyond you." Thanks for watching, and a very happy Diwali. Don't forget to celebrate this something that's called life. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.